Hello everyone, it's certainly been a long while. Too long, in my opinion. My 2019 was a disaster, and I think I've put off making actual content long enough. All I've really done video-wise lately is shitty TikTok videos, and I think I need to make something more worthwhile. YouTube itself is more of a hobby for me than an actual employment opportunity, but it takes a lot of creative energy nonetheless. So I'm glad I took the break. I honestly needed it after the last serious videos I made. What was supposed to be like a week or two ended up becoming almost a year, and hopefully I won't end up vanishing off the face of the planet like that again. I sincerely apologize for this. Hopefully this video makes up for it. If anybody is wondering whether or not my Rabid Radical series is dead, it's not. It's honestly a chore to pick which topic I want to take a decent crap on first, let alone any topic for any video in general. You've got everything from comical, fact-denying human idiocy like flat earthers, and then the nuclear-grade toxicity like religious propaganda. It's a broad spectrum with endless possibilities. So today, I'm gonna do the only thing that's honestly worse. Both aforementioned chemicals mixed together in the same beaker, the anti-vax movement. The lengths the horde goes to deny facts and stink up public websites with their rancid stupidity baffles the mind. I've seen these living corpses on subreddit Insane People Facebook so many times, and if I had a nickel for each time, I'd have a shitload of nickels. Might as well start with the origins of the cesspool. This video exists because I, like many others, wanted some questions answered. Where did this misinformation come from? What does a possibly hereditary mental condition have to do with any of this? How long has this crap fest been around? How many lives has it claimed? And how many people in power believe this garbage? Truth be told, anti-vaccination movements have always been around as long as vaccines themselves. These idiots just have found more places to put their trash. According to historyofvaccines.org, vaccines themselves have a decent trail of history behind them. A primitive form of it lasted from the mid-1600s till the mid-1800s when the first lab-created ones were produced. Some theorize this old form of vaccination was used long before that. And where there's people advocating for it, you have your advocates against it, and many there were. From your everyday average person to trained professionals to, of course, the church. Basically, this protest came from just about everyone who was either uninformed or misinformed on what vaccines were, or they knew and didn't like the idea of being proven wrong, or were put off by the procedure. Medical tools were nightmare fuel back then. Many of these opponents relied on outdated or just completely wrong theories and info all around to prove their point. Some were also of the opinion that vaccines were a violation of their personal liberty, which was, and probably still is, a complication in many attempts to pass laws on this. Several controversies have arisen over the years, one involving the safety of the DDP vaccine in the mid-1970s in Europe, Asia, Australia, and the United States. It was alleged that the vaccine was linked to neurological conditions in kids after they're receiving it. Media outlets and anti-vax advocacy groups such as the Association of Parents of Vaccine-Damaged Children decided to hop on this trend for obvious reasons. Despite the vaccine being confirmed safe by the Joint Commission on Vaccine and Immunization in the UK, many people were still reluctant to get the vaccine. Not only were some doctors reluctant to use it, an anti-vax physician by the name of Gordon Stewart published documents linking the vaccine to neurological conditions, causing more public debate and drama. After a study was conducted by the JCVI, it was found that the risk was very low and highly unlikely to cause such problems. After the resulting pro-vaccination campaign, the APVDC still tried to argue for recognition and compensation in court, and were luckily denied both, since there wasn't any solid proof linking the DDP vaccine with neurological conditions. After that came the big one, the vaccines cause autism manure that many anti-vaxxers online tend to accept as true. In 1998, a British doctor named Andrew Wakefield claimed that the MMR vaccine was not properly tested before it was used, and that it possibly had links to autism and bowel disease. The media once again hopped on the fear-mongering bandwagon, and the story spread like wildfire. Turns out the General Medical Council, an independent regulator for doctors in the UK, found that he was paid by a law board to see if there was any evidence for cases in which parents thought vaccines harmed their kids. In 2010, the news outlet that originally published his work formally retracted the paper after the BMC ruled against Wakefield in several places. His license to practice medicine in Great Britain was eventually revoked after this. Later on, evidence was outlined in reports by the British Medical Journal that Wakefield had committed scientific fraud by falsifying data, and also that Wakefield planned to make money from his research. He apparently also was found to have invaded the privacy of his child patients through the use of medical procedures. Somehow, this creepy quack and con artist has gained an endless supply of white knights that defend his proven bullshit claims in all forms. Lastly, for those who have heard that argument that vaccines contain mercury, they are referring to thimerosal, a mercury-containing preservative. While there is no clear proof that thimerosal is harmful in the small doses that it comes in 1999, leading public and medical organizations in the United States agreed to reduce the amount as a safety measure. In 2001, the Institute of Medicine's Immunization Safety Review Committee issued a report saying there was not enough evidence to confirm nor deny claims that the preservative caused autism, ADHD, or speech and language delay. Later reports by the same organization say there is hardly any proof of any relationship between thimerosal and these conditions. The preservative is no longer in any childhood vaccines, but some flu shots contain it. Despite the plentiful and obvious evidence that vaccines don't cause autism, a Green Our Vaccines campaign got started in 2008 with the help of Jenny McCarthy and the Talk About Curing Autism organization out of fear that the damn things cause autism. Yes, my brain is melting and oozing out of my ear at the mere concept of me even saying that out loud. With anti-vaxxers accepting these nonsensical claims that vaccines are harmful and cause autism, God forbid, they look for validation wherever they can find it. Looking to cash in on more followers for their insanity, religion and conspiracy theorists got roped in. This is where the batshit claims that vaccines are an inside job caused by Big Pharma, and more ridiculously, where vaccines are made from aborted fetuses claims come from. You know the type. The ones your insane and conservative Aunt Karen sticks all over her Facebook page and feed in as many places as she thinks she can fit it, causing it to bleed into any sane conversation. The ones your conspiracy theorist Grandpa Joe shares on Facebook because nobody's keeping an eye on him at the nursing home. The ones some rando spams in the comments section of an article to win an argument. Just a bunch of uninformed and stupid people trying to look smart online. Some radical anti-vaxxers think they're so smart, they actually attack members of their own community if one turns against them, realizing their claims are bullshit, especially if those claims result in the death of somebody's kid. Yes, I'm serious. There was actually a publicized case, one that I will link in the description, of anti-vaxxers cyberbullying and abusing a couple who lost their baby to whooping cough, and the grief they suffered as a result of speaking out against them. This is fucking outrageous, and I recommend you guys give it a read. The level of cruel some people can actually be is insane. They deny any evidence you present them and try to suggest or actively promote and use alternatives that they read about on some seedy website that they found on an article on another equally insane friend's social media. These people spread misinformation like pestilence and even endanger their loved ones with their beliefs. Many of them denounce medical professionals in general and even medical science altogether, citing their home remedies as superior to Big Pharma and their chemicals. The anti-vax community is made up of people who are delusional as well as obvious threats to themselves and society. It's not enough that eradicated diseases are coming back, it's because these people are so afraid of disabilities that they would much rather have a dead child than one with a disability. The ones who are pro-life in addition to being anti-vax are especially problematic because they can't seem to make up their minds on what they want to be. This community is simply a cesspool of misinformation, gullible people, and dog-shit excuses created solely to defend whatever agenda some selfish quack pushes to shoot their shot. Cyberbullying and abuse isn't the only length these lunatics will go. Enter essential oils and homeopathy, people who think slathering creepy amounts of oil on your kid instead of taking them to the doctor will cure them of what the fuck ever. These are the chili juice kind of people, the ones who think potato necklaces will cure fevers, and that dropping 5-day-old pee in your eyes improves your vision. The ones who think drinking your period blood improves things. The ones who think direct sunlight on your actual asshole is beneficial to one's health, and the ones who think that Eye of Newt is the cure for AIDS. The last one is an obvious joke, but the other four are actual home remedies I've seen come from homeopathy pages on the internet. I'm not kidding, there are actual communities for this shit. This is the kind of thing I was referring to when I mentioned subreddit Insane People Facebook. These guys denounce medical science and treat it like a joke, while doing all these things and more to treat themselves of any ailments. The stupid ranges from outrageous and silly to ingesting actual dangerous chemicals instead of going to a doctor. Apparently, there's a part of the anti-vax community that is so afraid of their kids catching autism, they resort to giving their kids fucking chlorine dioxide as an alternative. That's right. The same chemical you throw in your swimming pool is actually being used as a cure-all by delusional people. I originally heard about this in that creepy reading Scams That Went Too Far video and decided to look into it more. There's the facts he mentioned in the video. The guy who started this particular mess is named Jim Humble, and he's a former Scientologist who started his own church, Genesis 2. The video doesn't mention, however, that this guy is so unhinged, he actually thinks he's a billion-year-old god from the Andromeda Galaxy. The pool bleach is being peddled as MMS, or Miracle Mineral Solution, whatever the fuck that is, and it costs like $20 a bottle in the US if you're buying from one of the church's very illegal suppliers. Even Humble himself has admitted his cure for all diseases was bullshit, and people are still buying into it and have even performed at-home enemas with it. Take that as you will. As of June of 2019, they're still selling it in Africa, doing seminars about it, and even claim it cures malaria. I could not make this up, even if I tried. I'll finish this video off with what you saw in the thumbnail. Some lunatic in the community actually wrote a children's book to indoctrinate kids to these beliefs. The book's title itself is an oxymoron of astronomical proportions. Melanie's Marvelous Measles. Upon seeing this at first, I was hoping to whatever forces that be that this was satire making fun of anti-vaxxers, but that couldn't have been further from the truth. Turns out the psycho who wrote this, Stephanie Messenger, is an Australian anti-vaxxer who thinks that measles is actually beneficial to your health and that vaccines do nothing. According to Wikipedia, the book was published in 2012, and the author knowingly ripped off Roald Dahl's book, George's Marvelous Medicine, probably knowing that his daughter, Olivia Dahl, died of the aforementioned disease. On the back of the book, a blurb describing the plot and premise is as follows. Melanie's Marvelous Measles was written to educate children on the benefits of having measles and how you can heal from them naturally and successfully. Often today, we are being bombarded with messages from vested interests to fear all diseases in order for someone to sell some potion or vaccine, when in fact, history shows that in industrialized countries, these diseases are quite benign and, according to natural health sources, beneficial to the body. I honestly wish I was kidding at this point. The plot basically has a mother encouraging her child to visit a friend who's infected just so she herself can contract the disease, calling it good for her. Okay. The main character visits her friend, receives more misinformation about vaccines, and returns to school without the disease, while another classmate gets it. The reason she doesn't get infected? She had a healthy diet and was active, while the classmate that gets the disease is depicted with all kinds of junk food near him while sick in bed. Not only is this book laughably dumb and completely wrong, but I myself am living proof this concept is bullshit. My diet is complete trash, and I'm a fat, disgusting blob, yet I don't have any contagious diseases that can possibly kill me. Clearly, Messenger never paid attention in biology class as to how people get diseases in the first place, let alone any proper knowledge on how vaccination and medicine actually work. This is 3rd or 4th grade learning, and a grown-ass adult nuked it and wrote a book about it, for kids nonetheless. According to her gross, early 90s looking blog, she claims to have lost a child to vaccines, but in reality the child had Alexander disease, a rare form of leukodystrophy. Messenger has 4 other god-awful looking books, one of them looking like some Cool Cat Saves the Kids bootleg. If Melanie's Marvelous Measles didn't already convince you she was batshit insane, Vegetarian Muscles definitely will. Might I point out the hideous art style of the illustrations, as they look like something you'd see in a vintage pamphlet on why marijuana is bad for you. It's honestly amazing how stupid anti-vaxxers really are, especially when they use their winning arguments.
If X is such a deadly disease, why aren't kids infected with it and dying of it right now?
That's because most problem diseases such as measles, polio, and the like have vaccines for them which help the body learn how to fight them, thus increasing survival rates. Also, most people are not embarrassments to nature and actually vaccinate and go to the doctor when they're sick instead of blaming Big Pharma for their ailments. Those who have life-threatening allergic reactions to certain vaccines or other problems with their immune system are protected by crowd immunity, as everyone else who is immune has less of a chance of spreading diseases. Anyone who contracts the disease should have enough common sense to stay home if they're sick, and anyone with autoimmune diseases and other conditions can take precautionary measures during outbreaks. I'm pretty sure many of these morons themselves were vaccinated as kids, hence why they aren't dead. They're still allowed to breed, however, which is just as concerning. These people should not have custody of any child whatsoever, since none of them are in the right headspace to be caring for any living thing. All their online and IRL propaganda does is ensure that no sane person takes them seriously at any point in time. For every person with a brain in their head, you should know by now that the anti-vax community is full of idiots. Some of these idiots also hang around in the communities of other undesirables, such as religious fanatics and conspiracy loons. With every ugly meme and dumb status they poison our social media outlets with, we point out yet another source of comedic material. In some tragic cases, we get to watch the train wreck unfold from a safe distance. Thank you for watching if you made it this far. Like, comment, subscribe, blah blah, you know what to do at this point. Every content creator says it. Feel free to check out my other social media outlets as well as the sources of info for this video, as all of it is linked down below for you. For those who want proof that people will watch anything no matter how badly produced it is, I posted a link to my stupid TikTok account on my Twitter somewhere. Do whatever you do after watching a YouTube video, and I'll see you guys in the next installment. Stay safe and take care. Also, vaccinate your fucking kids!